Kevin, who's starting at quarterback on Saturday?
Kyle Allen, same person who started last Saturday.
And is he the starter moving forward?
For this week, yeah, it's moving forward, right, Saturday?
I mean, for the rest of the season.
It's like any other position on this team. You know how that works. I don't know why he wouldn't start since he was named the starter 2 weeks ago. He played pretty well last week.
Over to the left, Cease.
Kevin, how does your team move forward from this big win using South Carolina as an experience that they went through? How do you move forward from this win going through?
I don't understand what you're saying.
Well,
what do you mean?
South Carolina, after that, they won 5 games, then you had the losing streak, and now a lot of people talked about that you beat a team that wasn't really
I haven't even thought about that, to be honest with you. So much has happened. South Carolina seems like last year at this point for this team. So, we're dealing with things 1 week at a time, and there are a lot of different players starting at this point that played in that game in a real a tremendous environment for football Saturday that either played very little in Columbia or didn't play at all in that game. So, this is we're dealing with things on a week-to-week basis, particularly with the guys that are playing now in critical roles. So, what happened then seems like so long ago in this building. I don't even think about it. I wasn't trying to be rude. There's no comparison to what we're to the guys who are playing for us right now. It's significantly across the board. That to the guys who were played critical roles in that first game of the year.
We'll go Olin first, Aubrey, and then Gabe.
Kevin, have y'all made any kind of complaint or sent any tapes at all to the SEC about the egregious holding penalties on Miles?
No, we send in every week what we think are things that we have questions on and things that may or may not have been missed. And, our league does a great job. Steve Shaw, we have a great relationship with the head of officials, great communication with the head of officials, gets right back to us and talks about things that we question would have been called, may or may not have been called, admit things that should have been called. So, no, the comment from the league office was, there were some things that may or may not have happened. So that's a conversation that we have with the head of officials, Steve Shaw, and I've coached in a lot of different leagues, and the officials in this league do as good a job as anybody in the country, and I think the key is the communication that we have with the league office post game. No, I just, we talk about, we have a conversation every week, and I think that's important just about everything. From our guys understanding the rules, from our own players understanding what's going to be called, what's not going to be called, how to play the game, and like I said, we got. I think the communication with the league office is as good as there has ever been, and I'm comfortable with it going forward.
Go to the left, Aubrey, and then Gabe.
After the game, I think it was Mike Matthews that said that this team seems to play better when nobody thinks they can win or when their back's against the wall. I can't remember the exact quote. But do you have any idea why that is and maybe how you kind of capture that even when people think you can win?
Maybe that may be Mike's opinion. So, our backs were certainly against the wall last week. They were against the wall the weeks before that. We didn't play very well. So I don't know that that's the case. I think that, I think there's a lot of things that happened over the course of the last month that had a lot to do with Saturday. And you don't win a game like that on the road in that environment on emotion alone. So, there's a lot of things that took place besides us feeling like we just had our back against the wall to play the way we played last week.
All right, Gabe.
Coach, I've got a question about 2 receivers. I don't think a lot of people would realize that Ricky Seals-Jones right now leads your team in catches if you could comment on his continued progress. He had some downs, obviously. Another guy that took a few games where he didn't have a lot of production but has 10 touchdown catches. That's 2 off your single-season record, is Josh Reynolds. If you could comment on both of those guys and them fighting through a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they both came here to do what they're doing right now, is catch a lot of balls and catch touchdowns. So, Ricky is, I think people from the outside, because of his talent, his size, his looks on the football field, expect a lot of him. You got to remember, Ricky hadn't played a lot of football. He got early last year, had a knee surgery, major knee surgery. We did not use him through the spring as much as we wanted to let that knee heal. Really, this year is really the first full year of collegiate football he's played. There's things he is learning as a high school quarterback and an athlete. There's things he is learning even daily to become a receiver. Whether it's route running, whether it's defenses, the ability to stem, know where you are, find voids, and then catch the ball after all that and play physical on the perimeter. It takes some time, just like Malcolm Kennedy, who was a high school quarterback. So, I think people, you can't lose sight of that for him as a young player. Josh Reynolds, same. Here's a guy who didn't get a scholarship offer out of high school, went to junior college as a qualifier out of high school, and a guy we signed last December to really bolster our receiving core. Very, under the radar kind of guy, which you guys probably heard me talk about the comparison to him as the same guy, maybe a little bit more length than another guy that we signed that had a bunch of touchdown catches for us too as a junior college player for 2 years. So Josh was a 3-for-3 player, and came in January, went through spring football, has some explosion. You'd like for him the off season is going to be big for him, where he can get some more strength and some more size, but he definitely has potential, and I think you can see that he's a heck of a competitor, and he's doing a nice job.
Down front, Kate, and then we'll go to Brent.
Kevin, is Kenny Hill available to play Saturday if you need him?
Yeah.
And then Julian was in here earlier, and he said before the game last week, he kind of nudged Kyle forward. Some players were talking to the team, kind of getting him hyped up and whatnot. And he said, "Hey, you're a starter now. You gotta talk to him." Have you seen Kyle just embrace that part of his role and being a team leader now?
Yeah, I went the other way with him. I talked to Kyle. Kyle is players are different, and Kyle is really a type A, and I know it's hard to believe he was more relaxed last week in that environment than he was the week before, and we tried to keep him that way. And he's one of those guys. You got certain guys that have to have the game face. I'm not going to go into a Bobby Knight deal, but Kyle's a guy that plays better when he's relaxed, he's smiling. So I tried to keep him the other way on the sideline and during the game. But when you're young, it's good for Julian to say, because he's played a lot of football. He's been starting since he's been here, since the first game. So it's easy for him to say be a leader in year 3 of starting every game when it's your second start on the road at Auburn. You're probably better off just worrying about what you need to get done that day. So, but Julian's, that's the kind of leader Julian is. He makes people feel comfortable. He's been in a lot of big games, and I couldn't be happier for him, for all the things that he's been through, and to be involved in a critical play like he was last Saturday is great to see for a guy like that works that hard.
Go down front, Brent, and then to the left, Christy.
You read my mind then, because my question was about Julian. The fact that he's a petroleum engineering major, I asked him how does he handle that, and he says, well, he studies and reads while maybe guys, journalism majors like me, catch naps and things like that. So could you just speak to what he's meant to your program, being a petroleum engineering major and a good example for some of the younger guys?
No, he's Julian's a guy that I can remember in recruiting, it got down to, he was really, really concerned about engineering. His parents were, and he got to school here. Now he's in year 3, which anybody who knows the program here, it's kicking up a little bit. So he kind of comes and goes at practice at different times than other guys do with other majors because of lab and because of class and things like that. But he's a very, very mature young man. And, here's a guy who, like I said, he started from the very first game he set foot on campus. And so, that part of the game he understands. He's one of the few veteran players that we have that can, understand, watch video, doesn't have to practice as much and go out and play like he does. So to balance everything that he has, and in our engineering program, he's excelling at a high level on and off the field. And he's great for our young guys, and he's an example of a guy who wasn't at the top of the class, of the recruiting class when he got here, and all he's done is done a great job done a great job academically, and been a real solid player for us on the field. So, yeah, he's one of the cornerstones of where we are right now.
To the left here, Christy.
What's impressed you most about Kyle since he's taken over as your starter?
I think, operation. You look back at the last 2 weeks, I said it the week before, but things that you take for granted when you watch young quarterbacks are, the operational procedures, meaning personnel, meaning clock management, not wasting timeouts because or delay of game penalties. And particularly in a situation like Saturday with the second half where we're using the clock. So of all the things that he's got to deal with and changing plays, I think you saw him be able to do that a little bit more comfortably last Saturday in a hostile environment. So from an operational standpoint, for a young guy in that situation to not have the football move backwards because, before the ball snap, is something that you can't take for granted, and which a lot of young quarterbacks do, trying to process and get to the perfect play instead of just moving along with what we're doing. And I think Jake's done a good job with him, with what he can handle at the line of scrimmage and what he can't. And I think that it has continued to build, so to speak. I think you saw that last Saturday with some things that were checked and some things that were called. So, I think operationally he's done a nice job. And the things that we talked about the week before that we wanted him to address as far as ball security, things like that. That's an ongoing thing with young quarterbacks. You break in old habits, but I think the things that we talked about a week ago with Monroe, he's made an effort to improve there, and as we get a better feel for him, which we're getting, and he's getting a better feel for us and what he can do and what he's comfortable with, and being open with saying, hey, that's the hard part with a young guy, because young guys think they can do everything. And they need to be at a point where they can say, hey, look, I'm really not comfortable with that. And I think he understands that a lot more now, and we understand a lot more at this point.
Go to the back, Mike, and then to the left, Chip.
On Saturday, it seemed like your defense was doing a very good job of stopping the run, especially with Artis Payne in the first half. How were you able to do that? And after that, could you give us a preview on Mizzou?
I think we were able to get some things done. I think Ivan Robinson was a big part of that too, and I think when he plays, he gives us a lot up front, because he's been really, really good when he's in there, when he's healthy, and then he played till he couldn't play anymore, and he was out. And so now we're rotating a lot of guys and trying to get guys in that situation. I don't know if we'll have Ivan this week. So the best part about that, if there is anything out of that, is that we're going to be able to practice and know that going into the game instead of it being the middle of the second quarter and putting it on a younger guy to get in there. Now we have to, we're going to have a plan for him playing and for him not playing. And if he's able to go, he's able to go. If not, then the young guys will get the reps this week. So I thought that was the case, and we were able to get some negative yardage plays too early to get them off schedule in the first half. Second half, not so much. And what was your second question?
Mizzou.
Mizzou, yeah, they've always been able to move the football, have had a great offensive system. Gary Pinkel has done a great job at Missouri, whether it was in the Big 12, winning the East, representing the East last year. They're right in the thick of the race right now. The way I understand it is they control their own destiny. They win and they're back in the championship game again. So that tells you what kind of program they have, what kind of coaching staff they have, what kind of players they have, and they're not going to be intimidated coming in here. I just looked at something today. Shoot, they won the last 4 out of 5 games we've played, and so since we've been in the league, we're 1-1 against them. They've got a lot of kids from the state of Texas that play, and I think you heard Coach Pinkel say yesterday. He said I think his words were his guys enjoy playing here. So we got our work cut out for us again this week.
To the left, Chip, and then Sam.
Kevin, how will your message or your approach this week with this team be different, or will it, from what it was a week ago coming off this win?
It won't be any different. It won't be any different. So, I think it gets back to what you asked me earlier. I mean, we're not things that have happened. This team's been through all kinds of different things from the outside, about opinions about us, about guys quitting, about being in the Final Four. So we got to deal with this week, and this is a good football team we're playing, and our team understands that, and what's important is the talk in this building, and I think because of the talk in this building, that gave us a chance last week, and that's going to have to continue to give us a chance the rest of the year.
Sam.
What do you think of Jarvis Harrison's play at tackle and overall the offensive line performance? What do you think?
I thought, we were able to run the ball efficiently, which is something that we made an effort to do. I think a week ago, nobody really understood what we were trying to do. And I'll just put it this way, we wouldn't have won a game last Saturday if we hadn't done what we did 2 weeks ago. And there was a reason for that. We were in the second half, we would like to have had touchdowns, but to drive the ball the length of the field from the 6 and kick a field goal was big, the way we ran it. For the first time really to win the time of possession in the fourth quarter, over 10 minutes to less than 5 minutes became a big factor in winning the game. And you can't do that without being able to run the ball. So, we've it was a different type of ball game for us to play. And, maybe I said before the game, we've kind of combined offenses to win that game. We were pretty up-tempo offense early and really slowed the tempo down in the second half and played a little different game. So, hopefully we'll see where we are from that type of versatility, because you got to be able to score points against these people, the people we're playing to win. And Auburn was that way, averaging, 38, 40 points a game. We couldn't slow it down completely and score. This week, you're playing, one of the better defenses in our league. You look at them in total defense, they're right up there at the top. You look at they've got a great pass rusher in Shane Ray. shoot, he's as good as there is. They've been solid defensively, and that's really how they've won games. They've shut people down and been able to score enough points to win. So, we're going to have our work cut out for us again this week, just like we do. It sounds like a broken record every week in this league, but it's good to be back home, and being able to play here. I think our guys will hopefully, we'll have a comfort level that, and our energy level will be as high as last week, because it's real hard to continue that. But being back home, I think, will help us.
We'll go down front, Brent, and then Gabe.
Is that something new that you've done, or is that in terms of those two type of approaches in a single game as opposed to just staying on the gas throughout? Is this a new approach, or can you cite prior examples in your coaching career of saying, okay,
prior in my coaching career, yeah, but not since we've been here.
Okay, so that's a first for A&M.
Well, I think, I would say that, you've got new formations here for the first time at A&M. So, yeah, I would say that. That was, a little bit different. But, we've always been pretty much a tempo team. And, I think the ability maybe for us to be both, particularly with a young quarterback, is important, and it's something that it's hard to do. Was hard to do in the middle of the season, and we'll see. We've got to be able to play football, and play to the strengths of who we have, and not ask our players to do things and put them in positions that are at a disadvantage. But give them an opportunity where we're at least equal or have an advantage, and that's not just offensively, that's across the board.
Okay, Gabe.
Coach, a little more on the offensive line. It looks like you found your nickel. I mean, what can you talk about the changes you were forced to make, and how that looked like it definitely has worked?
Well, we've got good players inside. Our tackles, then we get thinned out. Jarvis, it's kind of interesting. Jarvis and Said have both been guards in this offense before, and they move out to tackle, which is a very, very difficult position to play with what we do and what anybody does, particularly on third down. But we have enough players inside that we can rotate around. So, I think moving Ben Compton back to really an H-back, fullback mode that can help us be a little bit more physical than maybe we were. Helped us a little bit. The rotation of the running backs, keeping them fresh, I think was a definite plus for us last Saturday. And, and some different blocking schemes, to be honest with you. So, like I said, we've added some offense up front. It's not dramatically different, but subtly it's different. And, that was a little bit different for our running backs 2 weeks ago, and still continues to be, because, we missed some things Saturday. But our guys are getting used to it, and, we're gonna have to continue to get better and against this opponent, because, Missouri does, as I said, I think where people are missing the boat is defensively. They've been really, really good this year. And, we're going to have to be on top of everything offensively to handle them. And, you look at their quarterback's experience. Matty Mock can run around, make plays, really, really talented at running back, and one of the most dangerous return guys in the league. Here's a guy that gets loose on everybody. So across the board, offense, defense, and special teams, we're gonna have to bring our A game again, because there's a reason why this team is tied and right at the top of the East, and they're trying to win a championship.
Anything else? Back to back, Daryl. You'll wrap us up, and then we'll get Coach Snyder.
Coach, I know, you probably haven't looked at Missouri a whole lot, but they lost to Indiana early, and then they got shut out by Georgia, and then they've won their last three. have you, in your film study of them or whatever, seen something different that maybe they flipped the switch and it helped them to get it going?
No, you look across this league at a lot of different teams. You got to ask what happened. So that nothing surprises me. All I know is they're playing pretty good right now. They've got a winning streak going. They got a championship in their sights, and this is a team that, as you said earlier, has won 4 of the last 5 games against us. So since we've been in the league, we're 1-1, and it's a game that we want to win, and they want to win, and whatever's happened, just kind of like us, whatever happened 5, 6, 7 weeks ago is irrelevant for what's going to go on Saturday night.
All right, Coach, thanks.
Thanks.